Alrighty. So, Rich Tomasini from eXp, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
I am so excited to have you here. It's just been such a wild ride with eXp for me, and I look at you and I just think, oh my gosh. And the thing that I loved about what you said to me is that you said, no questions exempt. You can ask anything. You're an open book. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. So just to give people a little bit of a background for you, I've kind of did a little tiny bit of research. And there's no way I can do your eXp experience any justice. So just the basics I can kind of say about you. So you started in real estate in about 1999 and you worked for your dad. And so you were an appraiser and you did flipping properties as well. So that gave you like a good grounding in business and in real estate. Yes. And then you discovered eXp.
Yeah, I had gone in 2005. We relocated in the United States from Florida to North Carolina.
Right.
So working for my dad was no longer an option. So I figured if I'm going to re-engage in the real estate business, I'd rather do it from the sales side because I didn't like having a ceiling on my income. So I thought this was a good opportunity for me to kind of, create my own pathway. And then I sold real estate from 05 till 2017 when I came over to eXp.
Oh, okay. And so because this whole thing that I want to talk to you about today, I'm learning so much off you, and I know I'm going to. Can you explain the concept of eXp for those that are listening that are not sure what it is?
Yeah, okay. So we are kind of a revolution of a real estate company that's going on not so quietly anymore. Traditional brokerages had franchises and territories and sort of an imbalance on the value given from the brokerage owner to the agent or principal to the agent. eXp kind of shuffled the card deck on that. So the way that I explain eXp, at least in America here, it's easier to use this analogy, but we're sort of like a super highway. We have lane one, which is selling property. We've been doing that for years. So we have tools to help us be more proficient at it. We have lead generation. We have a lot of different modules within that lane that were unique here in the United States for us to utilize. So we have lane one, but what we have here at this company are two additional lanes that we've never been able to navigate through. Lane two is being a shareholder at a company that's worth $3 billion and traded on the NASDAQ. That's pretty exciting. So we ownership. We're not renting or we're letting our careers anymore. We actually have a stake in this company. And then we have a third lane, which produces residual income, and it's sort of like an expansion team model. We call it revenue share. And eXp takes roughly 50% of their gross revenue and it recycles it back to the agent/shareholders through stock and revenue share. And revenue share is a little portion of each commission of the agents that you directly and indirectly bring to the company. And that number compounds over 7 separate layers. So we're actually able to start building residual income so we could have a retirement plan in this business while we're still in our prime and kind of smoking along. So it's sort of a fully comprehensive plan where typically, you were stuck in a technician role and you never had the ability to have an ownership role unless you wrote a very, very big check and rolled the dice. Here at eXp, while we are in the technician role, eXp sort of acts as the manager for our files. And then we also have this really cool entrepreneurial vein in it where we can have relationships in the talent pool of the entire 12 countries that we're in and start to span out.
And hence that's how we met as well with this. So really it's the 3 multiple streams of income, isn't it? And as you said, I like it because it gets my brain thinking like an entrepreneur. It's not just listing and selling. It's a whole different business plan and you really can get out of it what you put into it, in each of those different areas, can't you?
Yeah, sure. So the way I look at it is that if you're not very entrepreneurial and you don't feel like attracting agents and building those type of relationships, that's totally fine. That's the majority of agents. I
Yes.
think our EXP agents on average bring about an agent and a half per year per agent.
Okay. Oh, that's
So
interesting. Okay.
that's not a high number.
Yeah.
Um, so for most people, they're going to sell real estate. They have an ability here in the States to outperform the model in icon, which
Hmm.
means that you paid into the company back in stock. And
Yes.
then there's shareholders. And we have a ton of agents that came over 3 years ago with me that have six-figure shareholder accounts at
Mm.
eXp and never attracted an agent over.
Wow.
For me, I was 40 years old when I came over here 3 years ago,
Hmm.
and I wanted to see what my work ethic and talents would look like in a model that was disrupting the business because I felt like it needed to be shaken up a bit. So I went after the revenue share lane.
Yeah. Did you think that real estate would go this way? Like, when you talk about the future of real estate, I remember having conversations 3, 4, 5 years ago, and we were saying, what's the future of real estate going to look like? Is it going to be like a segmented model where like an outsourcing where real estate agents are doing appraisals and then some are doing, the sales inspections or whatever? I didn't really pick it to go this way. Did you? I knew technology would be involved some way and it would be online some way, but I didn't see it this way. Did you or not?
Well, I would never compare myself to Glenn Sanford, who saw this back in 2009. But
Mm,
by 2017, I think it was evident to me that we're doing everything else in our lives that are important digitally.
mm,
And why do real estate? I mean,
yeah.
you're streaming your TV, you're shopping on Amazon. People are
Mm,
dating online, managing their money online, using Uber and Lyft, using Expedia to book their trips, flights, cars. Why would we not be doing real estate online? And when I saw this immersive gaming platform that allows us to trim our expenses and utilize the EXP cloud,
mm,
um, to be honest with you, I thought it was a bit goofy.
mm.
And I took my gray-haired avatar around the campus and I got real-time support. And I quickly reshaped my opinion on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you go into the boardrooms and all that sort of thing, and you actually feel like you're sitting there, don't you? Like, it's quite a bizarre feeling that, you're sitting next to somebody talking to them, but you're an avatar. But yeah, it's cool in the same time. So when you came to EXP, you had 3 salespeople, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had my team, just my
Okay.
real.
All right.
Sure.
So how did you progress into EXP, and what does EXP look like for you now? Like, how many people have you got, and how does the whole structure look?
Well, so I brought over 50 people directly to this company, which got me out of North Carolina. It kind of
Mm.
expanded me out throughout the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And those people brought over 208 agents that got me further out. And they brought over 260 agents, and that got me out of the country. And they brought over another 240 agents. So my 50 agents that I expanded upon from 3 to 50 over the course of 36 months has turned into almost 1,100 agents in 28 states and in 6 countries. And
Wow.
my wife and I accidentally retired. My
Wow.
retirement plan was to work until I had a stroke or a heart attack at 80 years old, right? And with this ability to compound and scale without any geographical confines, we were able to find the best talent pool and have them find the best talent pool. So the margin that I'm making on each agent comes out of EXP share, but it doesn't inhibit the agent from opportunity, which is so
Mm.
often the case when you have an agency or a team set up. So I like the ability to change lives within this business on the compensation program because I've been doing it for 22 years prior to coming to EXP.
Wow.
So
And as you said, I saw, I think it was the interview with Lee Woodward, you said, if you can do this, we can all do it. So, and
yeah,
I guess it's just people getting their mind around that entrepreneurial way of doing things. And so your main focus is kind of talent attraction, is it? Is that your main focus, or?
yeah, I do two things. And
Mm.
if it's outside of these two things, then the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
I attract the best agents that I can find anywhere in the United States, Canada, Mexico, France, South Africa will launch first in that group.
Yes.
UK, we opened up right here from my dining room table and Barry Pulver's dining room table, 5 miles away.
Yeah.
Australia, Portugal, India. These are places that I can find the best talent there is. And then the second thing that I do is help the people that came over with me close those conversations and tighten them up. So
Awesome.
those are simply the two things that I do all week now for about 2 or 3 hours a day. And the rest of the time I spend on my life.
Retired. Semi-retired. Awesome.
Aged and living.
And so how does eXp look for individuals and how does it work for teams in America?
Well, okay, so it really, most of the stuff is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that if I did it, you can do it, I was never a recruiter. I've never been compensated for bringing an agent over to a company. I had no interest. By and large, real estate agents stressed me out, so I never.
That must be an international thing.
Yeah, it's a common denominator.
Yeah.
So I believe anybody can do this, and I do have some things to share with you as we get into these questions on how I did it and how I believe it should be done now, because we made 10,000 mistakes early on. But as far as teams go, a team leader can come over and bring over a team at eXp. It's just called revenue share. It's a self-organized team. And for example, I can have my own identity and my own autonomy, and then I could introduce the model to you, Lisa, and you have your whole brand, and you don't have to sacrifice that. I run my team called the Lake Crew. You run your team. You're in my revenue share organization, but you're kind of part of my organization, not really part of my team. Although I do get compensated for the revenue share by introducing you to the company, right? So we have that. That's just basic revenue share. We have a secondary team called a standard team. And in the States, if you're doing over $6 million of business, the team leader comes over at a full cap and brings their team members over at a half cap. Those team members, in turn, give a 25% referral on all their deals to the team leader. And then we have a mega team, which is very good for large teams and brokerages where they can bring their agents over at a quarter cap. And again, the 25% referral goes back to the team leader. And there's different milestones to qualify for each of these groups. And you can grow into a bigger group as you go. So for a solo agent, which is the way that I came over, I brought my team over, but we all came over with a full cap. I like that model best for my team specifically because I didn't want them to sacrifice anything by being team members. And one thing is that when you're not paying a full cap, you don't have the ability to icon and receive it.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know if I'm speaking Mandarin to you for the differences in Australia and the United States. But.
No, probably for those that aren't familiar with it, but this is something we've been trying to work out, watching the videos on YouTube and all that sort of thing with the the mega teams and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, teams need to be solved.
Yes.
And they will. One thing I love about this company, and I'm not really a cheerleader toward any one thing. I've been sort of an outlier on this business. You know, I came in from the appraisal side, so all the bloviating and magic I never bought into, right? And we did 3 million in 2017 in production. So, you know, we were operating at a reasonably high level for 3 agents, myself included. But one thing that I love about eXp is that every obstacle is aggressively tackled and solved in a short period of time and implemented and then reevaluated. So that approach to kind of navigating through the blind spots as we go international and open up these different markets, I've watched the UK evolve very fast in 10 months time. So all I can tell you as a fellow shareholder is to look at this very optimistically. eXp will find solutions. We have very sharp individuals running this company.
And so bringing up the competitors, like we've got different business models over here that are competing with eXp and everything else. We don't have Keller Williams. How is eXp different to, say, the Keller Williams and the other business models that try to be like eXp?
Well, I think eXp probably tried to be more like Keller Williams early on, right? We kind of took their profit share model into consideration when they were developing revenue share, except we shaved all the expenses off so you can get paid on revenue and not on profit. That's a major difference. I am number 32 for the company out of 35,000 agents, and I don't know anybody that makes as much profit share in their lifetime as I do currently 3 years into this company. To give you an idea, it's not that I'm so special, but if I'm competing with whoever's the number 1 profit share person in the United States, you know, it does show how polarizingly different the payment models are.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is in Australia, but do any of these firms that you have earmarked in that statement offer ownership?
No, they don't do the
Okay,
shares. No.
that's the first thing, right? So,
Yes.
we spend our entire careers telling people that at some point you have to buy a property. You have to have something that you can pay off for your sunset years. In the United States, it's also a tax deduction. In addition to that, why would you want to pay rent forever when you can start building equity if prices are appreciating? Yet then we go to our brokerage and we pay for 20, 30, 40, 50 years sort of a rent every year. And come the first of the year, you're back in the rat race. And no matter how great you were last year, you all start at the finish line again. And this hamster wheel cycle of being self-employed is exhausting and creates anxiety if you do it long enough.
Absolutely.
So the equitable part of being a shareholder in a company that's gone from $7 a share pre-COVID to $40 a share today has a lot of legs on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so did you jump straight into eXp, or was it something that you kind of sat back and watched and researched?
No, I deliberated for about 5 seconds.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
3 seconds.
Why, right? And I'm curious to hear yours too. So first thing is, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? I have to keep selling real estate. I already know how to do that.
Yeah.
So the downside was very small. There was nothing to research about eXp because we were very small. We didn't have official slides. We didn't have anything really. It was very primitive.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that I can control the narrative.
Yes.
And the third part of it is that if I'm into something, I'm normally very good at it. And if I'm not, I'm normally very poor at it.
Yes.
And I saw this as a massive opportunity. And I just figured I can bet on myself. I know that if I really like something, I could probably make it happen. If not through talent, through sheer work ethic, one way or another, I will get there. So all of those things kind of aligned in a millisecond.
Yeah.
And jumped in.
Yeah.
How about you, Lisa? What was your process?
Oh, well, one of my friends, Glenn Twiddle, and his partner, he came to me and he'd researched for 2 years. And he came to me and said, look, I've got this thing, it looks really good. Watch the video. And I went, yeah, I'm in. And he's like, oh, okay. So he already did all the research. So I love people that go out and do their own research and then just tell me, give me the one paragraph. And then it's like, awesome. Okay. What do we do? So, yeah, mine was about 3 seconds. Yeah. So
this little household study. And in the course of watching, 1,070 people on board in our group, I have noticed this very, very consistent pattern. The people that look at this and decide right away do the best.
Yes.
And the people who overanalyze it forever oftentimes get stuck in the minutia of thinking with that side of the brain and not calling it out for the no-brainer that it is. And I'm sure there's outliers and exceptions to the rule, but I've seen it repeat itself. And I tell all my people, don't overcome 15 objections and work around conditions. Don't try to convince people to change your vote. Forget that stuff. Look out for the people that, first of all, the timing aligns, and two, they can see the vision. Because if they can see the vision, it's a lot easier to sell.
Absolutely. And I think, I'm seeing people now that are also trying to reinvent this wheel still and make up their own version of eXp. And I think, why bother? It's all there. The platform's there. It's all your shareholders. Why not just run with it, But I guess you'll get the ones that try and reinvent the wheel and, whatever. Just stick with this one. Yeah.
So it's funny, Glenn Sanford created this model in 2009. And in 2015, we only had 500 agents. So to go through that 6 years where he was in his RV driving across the country, I don't see that as a thing that I'd want to repeat.
Oh, no. Why would you when the platform's already here? It's all done. Just jump in and do it. All right. So what would you say, you alluded to this a little bit before, but what would you say to salespeople that are working for someone else now who are sitting on the fence thinking about joining eXp?
Yeah, so in the UK, it's caused me to do some critical thinking because most of the UK agents are not in a self-employed model.
No, it's very different. They're 20 years ago. In everything, at least 20 years ago. In marketing, in the way their offices are set up, in their thinking, everything. Yeah.
Very exciting. It's very exciting to watch that happen in real time. We're seeing the people who are fed up step up.
Yes.
And it's a very empowering thing. So what I would say is that if you're on the fence, I think you have to ask yourself some honest questions. Am I going to do this for another 5 years? And would I be exponentially better off doing it if I had shares in a company that was skyrocketing and trading on the NASDAQ? I mean, the answer is probably yes. Your tiny little pocket full of sand from the beach at this company is probably worth more than your own company, right? Certainly easier to sell. So let's just factor that in. And the second part is that if you are saving the right amount of money every year to retire at the age that you have pinpointed, then I think it's a harder decision. But if the answer is that I'm way behind, then the riskiest thing you can do is play it safe.
Mm.
And then lastly, I think that essentially you have to gamble on yourself and you have to call yourself out. If you're a procrastinator or you're lazy or you're never totally engaged or your value system is different. I mean, some people are happy living in a van with a surfboard, and I love those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I have little boys. I tell my wife, I want them to be happy, even over wealthy, even over anything, happy. But at 72 years old, when you're not surfing anymore, that could be an issue. So there is some reconciling these different philosophies. And I think at eXp, if I were to look at it, I never dreamed of being in the real estate. This is something I dropped out of college and fell into. I became an appraiser of my dad just to reconcile the family, right? So this was not, opening up for Guns N' Roses in Japan, right? So it was like, if I can generate a lot of wealth and change a lot of lives and actually create a few millionaires along the process, myself included by accident, then I can maybe in my mid 40s have a lot of playtime. And, where else can you absolutely change the trajectory of your life financially and generationally at a company? I mean, 2-3 years ago, we were in a radically different boat.
Mm.
So that kind of opportunity, most of the time when you go to a brokerage, you're the opportunity. The company found you, you'll go out there, extract business and give them a portion of it and never think twice about it for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go for another company. Oh, I love this house, but this rental house is much nicer. Well, at eXp, when you do hang up your shoes and you're saying, I'm done with this, you can sell your stock. You can have created residual income that pays you on what you did yesterday and not what's in your pipeline. And these are very attractive things that have never been available for us.
No.
If you were to recreate it, it would cost you a fortune in creating systems and tools and platform and backend that we have.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed in the background, have you got guitars and a ukulele, do you?
Yeah, mandolin.
Oh, mandolin. Oh, awesome. Yeah,
So,
awesome. So you got spare time to do that.
My wife's instrument's here and mine is here.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, and going back to that, I mean, I built, 2 bricks and mortar businesses and sold them. And, it's kind of looking at the eXp model is you can still build your business and have your rent roll and sell that. But then you've still got the other exit strategy. You can sell that and live on that, but then you've still got, shares and all that sort of thing that you can continue to build on and sell if you wanted to later. So it's sort of like so many more opportunities, isn't there?
Lisa, I would find myself with what my corporation gets wired from revenue share. I would think that I would have a much easier time getting 3 to 7 times earnings of what I'm making now than if I were to sell a 20-person real estate company right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so what would you tell a non-eXp business owner of a traditional bricks and mortar office that have sales staff and all the headaches?
Yeah, so it's good. I'm glad you mentioned that. So let's lose the liability. Nobody wants to play with that. Let's lose all the people stealing paper at 9 o'clock at night. Let's lose the $4,000 lease for your building. Let's lose 5 or 6 of these salaries that you're paying that's already offered for you in the eXp support role. We've got 600 employees, many of them licensed here to support us on all ends of the business, from IT to accounting to transactions and everything else. Mm-hmm. Let's eliminate all the part of the business that causes permanent lines on our face. Mm. We are going to delegate that out to eXp, and the cost of it is, worst case scenario, your cap plus transaction fees when you're at 100%. Now, I don't understand how that's not a headache that you want to lend out somewhere else. Now, let's open up the map and be able to grow everywhere, and not let just me be incentivized to grow the company, but incentivize all the agents so they have a safety net too when the market takes a correction. Let me look at my brick and mortar office and see how reliable this has been since March. not very reliable. So, I mean, for any agent that thinks that they need brick and mortar to operate, I can just say that that is more of a safety blanket.
Mm,
And, you know, a blanket's nice if that's important to you.
yeah.
But, you know, we're affiliated with Regis Executive Space. We got 3,000 locations across the globe.
Mm,
Most of the time, this little iPhone is operating all of my business.
mm,
And that's when I go on vacation, my wife rolls her eyes because we
mm.
can't get away from it anymore. So I think we're already working remotely. We just have to be very candid with ourselves and say, you know, instead of just operating on this 7-inch screen, I can
Mm,
bring an entire virtual office with all these people here to help me real time.
mm.
Find it easier.
I think, like you said too, COVID has just highlighted the risk of, you know, the traditional business model of, you know, a 30 or 40 grand a month overhead to a couple of $100. And you know, as you said, all of those worries gone. I mean, what would you do? Like what, I mean, to me, it's like, you know, running businesses and having staff and having all of those things and whatever, it's just, oh, it's tiring. And I mean, you probably, I don't know, when you went to eXp, did you just go, oh, what a weight off my shoulders?
You know, I was an employee, not an employee, but
Mm,
like subcontractor here in the United States. So
mm.
somebody else was dealing with all that, and I was paying for them to
Okay.
deal with it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
um, so I felt, listen, I've always tried to embody the things that I didn't get that I craved. So
Mm,
whatever I was lacking in leadership at my last company, I tried to create here. And
mm.
so this was a bit of a project for me. It's like trying to summit Mount Everest.
Mm.
So we started on base camp, and we were just trying not to lose our fingers and toes. That's it.
Yes.
And then the higher we got up the mountain, the more fun we had, and the stronger alliances and friendships, and a lot of new friendships and bonds were built. And you know, I got to be honest, we're a little afraid to get to the top because it's been so fun climbing the mountain. I
Yeah.
actually think that if you had snapshotted where I'm at right now, I'd say I'm at like base camp 4. I can see the summit. I think we're going to get there. I hope that some of my people get there with me, and I hope that some of them get there before me.
Yes.
But once we're up there, we'll pull the rest of the people up that want to come up. But once we're at the top, I don't know what it looks like from there. Whereas right now, it's been a wild ride. And I think
Yeah.
that in Australia, especially with your performance, Lisa, specifically, I wish you were in my group.
Yeah.
I would fly over there and camp out on your couch until you kick me back out and everything. But I mean, look how exciting this is. You know, I mean,
Oh,
you've got a third, more than a third of the organization there. You know what that looks like if you went to sleep for 5 years? Not that you would do that. You have to feed it and nourish it.
yes.
But it only gets better because somebody there has a friend in Russia, and we open up Russia at some point, and we open it with critical mass with several companies that come over, and we start with 1,000 agents. And you have no idea how large your brokerage can get because it's virtual and
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's incentivized to grow.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking to some in South Africa now, and like when they launched there, and so yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
exciting, and it isn't only just here; it is worldwide, because you know we've had that objection. People have said, oh, but you know, there's only, you know, there's less than 100,000 agents in Australia, and you know, there's so many million in America. But it's like, yeah, we can go anywhere, we can recruit anywhere, we can, you know, help people anywhere in the world to get into into eXp. So that's the exciting part of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, I think you have to factor in all the people entering this business too.
Yeah.
You have a lot of new talent coming in this business, and the way they operate is different. It's a different generation.
Mm.
So I really feel like if we were to compare EXP to a human being, we're somewhere around the preschool age.
Yes.
I think we're not an adolescent. People that
No.
try to tell us as that have no idea. They don't have enough information to make that an accurate projection.
No.
We're still very, very small.
Exactly.
We,
Still growing.
yeah, we're growing exponentially.
Yeah.
We are growing right now more faster than we ever have ever grown.
Mm.
We were growing, I think, 2,500, 2,800 agents a month.
Wow,
That's
that's crazy. And like you said, you know, and I appreciate you helping us so much with this. today, just sharing all your knowledge. And I heard you say, I think it was in the Lee Woodward interview as well, it's like you still want to help people, even if they're not in your downline or whatever. It's still shareholders and it's still part of the company and it's still part of that culture. And that's what I've really found being part of eXp, is that everybody helps each other. And it's been so refreshing. So I don't know what it's like in America, but you don't get that. You know, you'd run over your competition, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work at a company where somebody was taking down a call and somebody in the cubicle next door to them is writing the information. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there's never been collaboration ever.
No.
In this business.
No. Oh, sorry, go.
No, go ahead. At eXp, it happens incessantly.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like here, I don't know what it's like there, but you get agents stealing the other agents' for sale signs off the roads and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Anyway.
You get all the same stuff. You know, human nature doesn't really change much.
No, exactly. So how does it look for a bricks and mortar office that come across to eXp? How do they make that transition when you've got people on? Most of the agents are commission only in America, aren't they?
Yeah, a lot of them, although we do have some employees.
Okay.
Well, we brought over the franchise owners for Keller Williams in Columbia, South Carolina. We brought over the franchise minority owners for Remax in Fort Mill, South Carolina. We brought over 4 or 5 large indie companies. I'm just talking about our group. So I've had a lot of experience bringing over full brokerages or franchise owners. We're dealing with franchise owners in South Africa right now, franchise model. So we've done a lot of work with them, and what we've experienced is that they're having a hard time. They're losing a lot of agents. You know, their best agents are breaking away because they don't want to work for the reduced commission, and the agents they wish would leave are staying forever. And you know, they don't have a technology platform. They don't have a lead generation platform. I mean, even in America, we even have health insurance here at eXp. So there's a lot of things that are missing. And they're coming over to eXp, and initially, based on their production level, we're seeing them go into the red for a few months. They're taking a solid 1 or 2 steps back, but by 6 months to a year, if they're performing and they're in the right group and they're getting the right consultation, we're seeing them go from breaking even to growing. So I'll give you a couple examples. We brought over a really, really good outfit. David Upchurch is in a little town called Waxhaw, which is an outlier of Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's the most dominant person in that entire market. And he brought his company over here that was probably about 7 or 8 agents, and he's over 100 agents 2 years later. And the stock has gone from $5 a share to $40 a share, and all of his agents have surfed that cool wave too. So that's not even, you know, like an odd example. That's common. He brought over another brokerage, his best friend up in New York, who came over with 7 agents and now is at 85 agents. Wow. And then so we're seeing this all work, and in some cases, depending on how they're structured, they're pretty much even Steven right away, but some have to take a step back before they go forward.
Yeah, right. And do you find that there's limiting beliefs that they have to overcome? Because, you know, real estate agents generally, like say in the UK, don't like change. They're still doing the same thing they've done for 100 years. Do you think it's, you know, sort of agents saying, oh, but that won't work in my area and all that sort of stuff? Like, do you think people have to kind of tap into these limiting beliefs and think outside the traditional beliefs?
I do, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that if you think it's going to work, you're right. It's not going to work for you.
Yes.
And if you think that this is going to work, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. You know, I've been heavily coached. And, you know, what I've learned over the last few years is that, you know, I don't like working on people's weaknesses. I'd rather work on strengths. For me to take a D and make it a B is not very exciting. But if you're an A somewhere, we can make it an A+. We can move mountains there. So, you know, to get through the psychology of somebody who's, you know, created a narrative that is going to box them in like a bird in a small cage is not very interesting to me. Unsuccessful people define success is not very interesting to me. I'll take a depressed person over somebody who's fearful, because at least the depressed person fell from grace. They know what it looks like at the top, whereas the fearful person never got there. So don't, you know, so, you know, the way that I operate, and I don't know if this makes me a colder human being than others, but the way that I operate is I'm sorting. I'm not looking for everybody. So if I give you a deck of 52 cards and I told you to give me all the best cards, at some point you would start trying to convince me that a jack is a good card, right? Because it's better than, 9 other cards. And all I'm saying is there's 4 aces in there. I'm going to grab them as fast as possible, and then I'm going to move to the next deck of cards.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, maybe that is in hindsight, maybe that will be a very smart thing, or maybe I'll sound extraordinarily foolish or knee-jerk, immature there.
No. But it is, it's trying to convince somebody that doesn't want to do it is hard, and it's, some people have to catch up, and you'll never convince them, that they'll sit back and watch what everybody else is doing, and if it's successful, then they'll jump in. But yeah, so I'm curious with your tiers. Do you, I think you said in Lee's interview, do you kind of structure your tier 1, then help build out your other tiers? You do. So you keep, I think, did you say you got 47 on your first tier? Something like that. Yeah. So you kind of keep enough that you've got the 40 to open the 7 levels. So if in case some drop off, and then you help build out the bottom levels. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, here's the problem is you can't scale a hero. So I can't service 1,100 agents. And there's some people at this company, I think Rob Flick's at 12,000 agents. He's the number one, right? For good reason. These guys were pioneers, right? So, so what we do is a cascading chief model. The 50 agents that I have over here, a good half of them want nothing to do with revenue share.
Yes.
Right? So I help them sell real estate. I know how to do that.
Yes.
And the ones that are engaged in playing with this, I develop them as absolutely dynamically as I can. We do a webinar every Wednesday at 10 a.m. that I host. We had 71 people on it last week. And we just have everybody become professional inviters. For them to vomit eXp out over a phone call to somebody who's not interested in hearing about it anyway is not the way you grow the eXp brand. It's the way that you hurt the company. And I think that we had some missteps in Australia, from what I understand, of the wrong people coming over initially and the company getting pigeonholed as not a premium agent real estate. And that's going to happen probably at the birth of every real estate company. We just don't remember what that looked like for these big, huge real estate companies because it was decades ago. Yeah. There's somebody who's 90 years old in the living room saying, oh, that happened to us. So what I'd say is we go after the right talent, and then we also control the quality of the pitch. And the pitch, to me, is education. We did eXp Explains. This is why we came over to eXp. There's 2 different kinds of presenters in the world. There's people that present an exception of their lives, what they're hoping their lives to be. I'm not very interested in those people. And there's people who present an example of their lives. And I've tried to live a live, example. And I came over to eXp and I told everybody about it. And then I said, hey guys, I hit 30 agents. I'm stoked. And then, hey, listen, I hit 200 agents. And at the end of my first year, I was at 300 agents. And I had the 300 from the Spartans, from the movie. And people were rooting against me and rooting for me. Right? Yeah. And then in my second year, I had 700 agents. And I was like, there's no stopping us. Okay. We are going to dominate because this is the most intelligent business model that an entrepreneur could ever adopt. And at the end of year 3, we're at almost 1,100 agents. And I feel for the first time as I get older and I'm getting lines on my face and my hair is gray, that the future is a very optimistic, idealistic place, at least professional, right? So, I mean, I don't know how you convince somebody to feel that way.
Yeah.
I think you show yourself and then you tell the story and then you're very vulnerable and real in it. And some people will get that and others won't. And that's the way that it is. Not everybody's meant to take the trip.
Well, that's it. I've got about 30 people now, so we've only just started. So yeah, that's the excitement for me too. It's like, I look at you and I go, okay, that's who I've got to follow. So yeah, exciting.
I'm flattered by that. There's better examples than me, but I'm happy to be one of them.
Yeah.
And the one thing that separates me from the people that are in front of me is some of them are my upline. So I've had a little bit of pushing along the back to get everybody kind of up, and people push me too. It's kind of the framework of the model. And then secondarily is a lot of these people were very successful coaches and real estate celebrities and franchise owners. And, for me, I'm living in a town of 60,000 people, working for a mom and pop that was 27 years old and never had ever had any experience. And it showed initially in attracting agents. So if I can do it, I really believe anybody who wants to do it can do it.
So exciting. Okay.